Hi, Ruben Taylor from Business Success Educators here. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the 7 keys to effective delegation. You see, delegation isn't as simple as saying, hey, Bob, you're now in charge of X, and then just leaving them to it. And this is only going to end in disaster. Effective delegation has got to be set up intentionally so that things happen the way that you want them done. And these 7 keys I'm about to share with you, I've learned from one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham. And there's 7 keys to effectively delegating anything that you want inside or outside the business. The first one is to clearly define the task. You see, what is the actual outcome that you're after? What is the task? You need to make sure that it's super clear. 1, it needs to be clear in your head. 2, it needs to be clear so you can communicate it to the person involved. Secondly, we want to delegate it to someone with competence. You know, have you got someone in the business who's actually competent? Sometimes things don't go to plan. Sometimes delegation isn't effective because the person actually isn't competent in doing the task you want them to do. So you might have to do some additional training to make sure that it's done well. The third thing is that we want to set up very clear guidelines and rules. You know, what's okay, what's not okay. What are the boundaries of doing things? You know, what are they allowed to do or not to? How far can they push things? How far can they make decisions? Things like that. The fourth one is to explain the resources. You know, often if you've done a task for a long time, you've got certain go-to things or ways that you do things or things that you reference that you want to make sure that it's really clear about, okay, you know, let them know what they are too. You know, if you've got some software you go to or some resources that you go to, you know, or equipment that you use or little shortcuts or little things that you do, make sure that it's really clear what those resources are. The 5th key to effective delegation is having a clear deadline or schedule. See, if you don't have a date by when it's going to happen, well, then it's left open-ended and who knows when it's going to get done. Usually it's not according to the time frame that you want. So if it's a longer-term project, that's where you want more of a schedule. That's when you want more milestones. But you really want a clear time frame of which you want something done by. The 6th key to delegation is to invite questions and feedback. Another good thing to do here is to invite people to repeat the instructions, you know, involve them. Have they understood? Now, it's your responsibility that have I communicated things clearly so that they get it. And the only way we're going to know that is if we've got that feedback, got those questions. In fact, no questions is a bit of a red flag. Ideally that you're getting that feedback on what you're delegating. And the final one, this is often overlooked, is having very clear consequences. You know, if this doesn't happen, what's going to happen? Sometimes there's natural consequences of things, you know, if they don't go well according to the delegation. You know, a client might be let down, or it might impact the flow of works or something like that. Or sometimes you want to set a clear consequence. So if this doesn't happen by a certain time, well then what's the impact going to be? You know, you can do a positive consequence as well. I remember we worked with a chippy. He used to say his quotes, he'd get the work done, say, in 3 days. He'd go to his team and say, if we can do this in 2 days, I'll buy you each a carton. And so what would happen is an actual positive consequence about actually getting the thing done. And so what we want to make sure is that those consequences are clear and communicated to the person. So there's 7 keys. Have a think about which of the 7 you might need to work on next, or which will make your delegation more effective, because this is such a critical skill as we start to build our team and delegate to those around us in business. Bye for now, and I'll catch you in another video soon.